known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Hello, Teddy Covers. It's me, your pal, Lawrence Presman. Welcome, everyone, to WagerTalk Today. It's Tuesday. Steve Merril joining us right off the bat. Well, after Teddy regales us with what happened in sports last night. We're talking Georgia Tech, Loyola Chicago, Rutgers versus Clemson, Syracuse versus San Diego State, and, of course, Dave Sharapan afterwards. I knocked it out the park in my penalty box segment last night, but went 0-2 for my clients. Teddy, how are you?
I'm okay today, Prez. I have, there's always stuff to complain about, my friend, but the beauty of that's one thing that we don't talk about enough on the show. The beauty of the revitalization of you go to sleep and you wake up, and there's a whole new card of games. Good night or bad. One of the things I really like about this business yes, it matters what you did yesterday. But every day you wake up with a clean slate.
Yep.
And I like that. That works for me.
Hope springs eternal, my friend. I hadn't had a proper losing night in hockey in 3 weeks. And when I say a proper losing night, I've had a few 1-1s where I've lost the juice, but I have not had an actual losing night in hockey in 3 weeks. I went 0-2 last night. I lost my 5% play on the Vancouver Canucks in regulation. They were up 2-1, 2 minutes to go in the game. Ottawa pulls their goalie, 2-2 overtime. And then, of course, Vancouver wins in overtime. Teddy, I want to tell you a quick story.
Oh, good.
About, you know what? I'm not telling you then. I'm telling our amazing viewers who love me more than you. So about, 10 years ago, I was playing hockey and I wanted to play a second night. So I joined as a single. So they matched me to a team. So I knew nobody on the team. I had no idea how good they were. And I showed up and it was a bunch of buddies and they beer drinking, fun guys. We lost 12 games in a row. And that's to start the season. So we didn't win one. And I walked into the dressing room after the 12th game and I told the team, I made an announcement that I quit. And they're like, what do you mean you quit? This is beer league hockey. We come out for a sweat. And I said, guys, I physically and emotionally can't deal with the losing. We've lost 12 games in a row. And they're like, it's beer league hockey. Nobody cares whether you win or you lose. And I'm like, winners win, losers lose, and I can't deal with losing. And I quit the team. The moral of the story is I was never cut out to sell plays, Teddy. I literally cannot cope with losing. I hadn't lost in 3 weeks. I went to bed at 6 a.m. last night. I was so upset. Anyway, what happened last night in sports betting?
Sure. Let's do a little bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books as opposed to going through Prez's mental gymnastics to try to deal with one losing night in 3 weeks. It's going to happen, brother. If you can't deal with losing sometimes, you can't be in this business. And you've been doing it for many, many years. So I know, Mr. President, that you know how to lose sometimes, whether it's beer league hockey or not. Relatively light slate last night, certainly considering what we've been dealing with in college hoops. But you know what the NBA does? The NBA gives you plenty of bad beats to talk about. Here's a couple. And again, these aren't the worst beats of the world. But Sacramento +3, +3.5 against Charlotte last night. That wasn't pretty. The Kings led after 1. They led at halftime. They led after 3. They led and had the ball with under 2 to play. The game's tied with a minute to play, and it was a real bad final minute for Sacramento backers. Charlotte wins by 6. Tough beat for the Kings. And one way to really gauge bad beats is look at in-game lines. The total in this game was 240, and it was above the closing number literally for the entire game, as high as 255.5. What happened in that last final minute that wasn't good for Charlotte? They didn't get the scramble points, or that wasn't good for Sacramento. You get the scramble points either. Lands 238, total 240. Not going to call it a bad beat, but it wasn't fun for overbettors in Kings and Hornets. Spurs Pistons total closed 211. It was as high as 235 in game. They had $1.70 after 3. All you need is what? 41 in the fourth? Didn't get it. Lands 208. There was no late flurry. The Spurs, leading comfortably, didn't get another point after the 3-minute mark, and it wasn't close enough to foul. Tough beat for overbettors in that one, with it landing 208, closing 211. This wasn't really a bad beat, but on the other hand, the Pacers are plus 4.5 in Denver. They led after 3, and then they got outscored 22-2 to open the fourth. Indiana, no good. Bad bets last night. I had one of these, the Warriors plus 2.5 to plus 1.5 against the Lakers. The Lakers hit everything. They hit, 70% in the first half. The game was over after pretty early. Bad for the books. His total did get bet up, 222 up to 225, and lands right on 225 after an 11-point final minute flurry. But lots of Warriors money. The books got to keep all of that with the Lakers win and cover. And the Knicks had point guard issues, plus 7.5 up to plus 8.5 against Brooklyn. They gave a battle against the Nets. Brooklyn only won by 5. All the money on the Knicks or on the Nets, not good money. Bad for the books. Couple worth noting. The Bucks Wizards total opened 239, got bet up to 245. 133, 122 final, lands 255. So a heavy steam move to the over, and all of that cashes. And then the Suns money against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies on the second of back-to-backs. Phoenix won by 23. That too, not a great result for the books. So there you have it, Prez. Bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. Not to mention the one bad beat of Vancouver winning in regulation when they actually ended up winning in overtime.
Yeah, I don't really count it as a bad beat, though. I mean, hockey, it's tough with the bad beats. What is one? But anyway, let's get into it. It's $2 Tuesdays, everybody. Rob Vino has a 5% college hoops play at WagerTalk.com. He's our $2 Tuesday, and there's a bunch of promotions. When you buy his $2 Tuesday package, and we do this every Tuesday, inside of the package are more coupons and more promotions, including one for me, bounce back night in hockey. Matt Fargo, he's got a 5% play over at Sports Memo. He's the $2 Tuesday there. Matt is on a massive run right now in hockey, 9-1, 14-4. And again, there's a really great coupon in there for you guys as well. So head over to Sports Memo and Wager Talk. Grab both 5% plays. It's $2 Tuesdays. Steve Merril, my brother, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, guys. Doing well. Getting excited for the tournament, to say the least.
We don't need to hear about a 50-year-old man getting excited. This is the wrong show for that, but thank you.
Let me know when there's a 50-year-old man on the show other than you two.
Boom. How old
Zing.
are you, brother?
Under 50.
Younger than I look. No. I'm 47, actually. So I feel pretty good for 47. So I'll be a strong 50. I'm not avoiding it at all. Not worried about it.
Well, you look good for 37. That is for sure. Well, Teddy doesn't know this, Steve, but before we get into the show, you will be hosting Wager Talk Today the first week of April. So thank you for that, my friend. Whistler is a calling. I gotta go skiing. I'm losing my shit again. I mean, we're still in lockdown pretty much. I can't go anywhere. I can't handle it. Every day is the same, blah, blah, blah. So thank you for covering me. The hills await. Steve, let's get into it. Big dance. March Madness begins. We're going to look at the first couple of games. Georgia Tech, Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago -2.5, a total of 126. Expecting a low-scoring game. How do we bet this one?
Yeah, my theme for the show today is NCAA tournament, and it's Midwest region on Friday. And this is the first of the 4 Midwest region games around 4 o'clock Eastern Friday afternoon. I like teams that play slow down, half-court, good defense in the tournament. I've mentioned it many times here on the show, and it's time of the year to put that into play. And no one does it better, really, in the tournament than Loyola. In fact, if you look at some of the adjusted efficiency ratings out there, they vary a bit, but Loyola is the number 1 defensive team in the country, and that's even taken into account the weak mid-major schedule that they play. And, of course, we all know what they did just a few years ago when they made that Final Four run as a double-digit seed, Sister Jean and company. They're now an 8 seed, and you would say, hey, that's pretty good for Loyola, but I think they got screwed. They deserved a much better seed than 8. They would have been better off being an 11 or 12 seed, in my opinion, because they win this game against Georgia Tech, which is a tough game. The ACC champ, by the way, is a 9 seed. And then they have to play Illinois, a 1 seed. So this is just a tremendously bad spot for Loyola. If you have a little bit of a conspiracy theory, you almost wonder if the networks don't want them making a run this year. You know, we always talk about, hey, they love Cinderella stories. Yeah, they do for the first 2 rounds. They don't like them in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 because it's terrible for ratings. And they definitely don't want a repeat of a team that already did it a couple years ago. The Sister Jean story has been played out, and this is a slow-down half-court team, like I said. Not fun to watch, but they're good to bet. I made the line only 2, so it will be a tight game. It's up to 2.5 now, so not really any line value anymore, but I still like Loyola. I like this pace of play, and I have no problem playing against Georgia Tech. I missed out with Florida State on Saturday night, lost that game. Georgia Tech's now gone 8-1 straight up in ATS their last 9. Monster run to win the ACC tournament. They caught a break when they did not have to play slow down Virginia last Friday, so they don't have as much experience recently with this style. And by the way, they did beat Clemson early in the season to play slow, and then they lost a close game against Virginia. But they lost to Louisville, Clemson, and Virginia the last 3 times they played them in the ACC, and those are 3 slow-down half-court teams. I could definitely see Georgia Tech being a little flat here, and Loyola's a play-on team for me. Just wish they'd gotten a better seed so I could play on them a bit longer into the tournament. But Loyola Chicago, I think, is worth a look.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the ones that get the matchups you don't like, you still get to play on them once, at least, and maybe for Loyola Chicago, if you're going to play on them a second time, they have to win that first round game. And this one's just real simple. I mean, you talked about the TV ratings and the issues for the TV ratings, the conspiracy theory, and I believe for the NCAA tournament, in terms of the matchups that get set, I'm a firm believer in that. And we talk about as fans when Loyola Chicago makes a run to the Final Four, or Butler makes a run to the Final Four, or George Mason makes a run to the Final Four. As fans, we love it. When you look at the networks, they hate it because the ratings for the Loyola Chicago game were the lowest ratings for any Final Four game in the decade. Do you think there's some of that here? And do you worry about that against a Power 5 conference team like Georgia Tech that the networks would clearly rather have be alive than a Loyola Chicago?
Yeah, I think that's why they put them against each other. I think at that point, I'm not going to go too deep conspiracy and say it'll affect the referees or anything. I think Georgia Tech also, they made that nice run. They didn't do them any favors putting them against Loyola, and I think that's kind of the way of saying, hey, you guys are lucky to win the ACC. You're not that great either. Another example of that real quick, Teddy, is Michigan State, UCLA in the play-in game. I mean, come on. It's like they just happen to put the 2 really big-name 11 seeds against each other and the other 2 11 mid-major seeds against each other. I mean, we know they do it. I understand it. But I've said over the years, the 8-9 seed, in my opinion, I think the committee does it as well, are probably you talk about the last ends, the last 11s, whatever. The 8-9s are the ones who get screwed, and those are the ones they penalize when they barely make the tournament. Loyola, of course, had a strong season. They win their conference, but they did them no favors. In fact, if you look at like the KenPom, I mean, I use my own power ratings, but I do look at some of these other ones. KenPom's got them 9th in the country right now.
Yeah. That
would be like a strong 3 seed. I mean, that just shows you how crazy this is, but I think that's an over exaggeration. But still, an 8-9 for them is rough.
Great breakdown, Steve. Rutgers Clemson, Rutgers -1, a total of 125. Another assumed to be low scoring game. Where are we going in this one?
Yeah, Prez, you said the key word low scoring. I'll look more at the total in this one. By the way, this game opened around pick'em, and now Rutgers is a 1.5 point favorite. My make the game pick'em. Not surprised that the lines moved, though. As I mentioned, I use my own proprietary power ratings. I feel they're better than any out there. It's one of the reasons I've gone 59-34 this year in college hoops. With that said, I do look at some of the big sites out there. KenPom had Rutgers higher. I believe Sagrigan had them a point higher as well. So not a total surprise that this line has moved towards Rutgers, but really tough to back a Rutgers team that shoots only about 63% from the free throw line in what could be a tight game. I think that helps the under, though. Clemson plays at the 6th, 7th, depending on which pace ratings you look at, either the 6th or 7th slowest pace of any of the 68 tournament teams. This will be a half-court game. Rutgers doesn't mind playing that way as well. So we have a slow-down half-court game, two good defensive teams, and a terrible free throw shooting team in Rutgers. I like under 126. And yes, Rutgers averages about 138 points a game this year, but their opponents played average about 144 total. So that's -6. Clemson games have averaged about 127, but their opponents have averaged about 141. So that's like almost 20 points below average for the two teams combined. So you don't want to look at overall scoring averages. You want to look at pace, and you want to look at adjusted points versus opponents played. And I still think there's some value under 126 in Clemson Rutgers.
So one of the things you worry about when you play it under, especially in a tournament setting, is the scramble points at the end. Do you find that in this point spread range, where basically it's pick the winner, that you get fewer scramble points in general than you do in games that are lined at, say, -5 or -7 or -9, where one team clearly has an edge over the other and there's more likely to be fouling and three-pointers in the final minute? Or is it still pretty random? A game lined in a pick 'em or -1 range, you're still going to be in a situation often enough to see fouling in the last minute to potentially doom unders. What's your take on point spread ranges for under bets that you're looking for?
Yeah, it's a great point, Teddy. I mean, first of all, we talk about key numbers in the NFL and college football, obviously. We say there's no key numbers in basketball, but as you know, there's always been some talk about 7 maybe being a slightly key number because that's kind of the make or break range when teams stop fouling. They call the dogs off. Tournament time, I think we have to be even more careful with that. I think they keep fouling at 8, 9, 10. Why not? You're off for the next 6, 7 months. But I do feel a little more comfortable at the under, and I do get nervous in these 120 ranges with tournament games. I've been burnt so many times over the years because you get 10, 20 points all of a sudden late in the last couple minutes. First halves are always an option. Something else to point out, this isn't a bigger arena. The other two games I'm talking about today are Hinkle Fieldhouse, Butler's Arena, 6,500 seats. This is where the Pacers play, 20,000 seats. So the sight lines could be a little tougher also for three-point shooting, although, Georgia Tech just played the ACC tournament and whatnot. Loyola, though, could struggle a little bit if they get to this bigger arena down the road, something to keep an eye on. But I think both, Clemson, the big-name schools like Georgia Tech, those schools won't have trouble. So in a game like this, Rutgers and Clemson are used to the bigger arenas. With that said, though, could be an issue. But I think with the pick-em range, I do feel a little bit more comfortable playing a lower total, as you said, because it should be a tight game throughout. And as I mentioned earlier, Rutgers being such a horrendous free throw shooting team also makes me feel a little more secure with the under.
Steve Merril, everybody. Number 1 handicapper in college basketball this season over at WagerTalk.com. Guys, if you followed Steve's betting structure of 3, 4, and 5 unit plays, you would have made an 87% return on investment, which is just, it's unbelievable stuff, Steve. Like 4-month period, 87% return on your money. I don't know. We're talking about Bitcoin type money. We're talking about rhodium type money. What we're not talking about is stock market type money. That is just unbelievable stuff. Congratulations on an outstanding year. Let's get to our last game. Syracuse versus San Diego State and SDS -3, 138 on tap as the total. How should we bet this game?
Yeah, this game back in Hinkle, as I mentioned earlier, Butler's Fieldhouse, which only holds about 6,500. Syracuse actually might be at a disadvantage in a smaller arena. They're used to playing in the big arenas as opposed to maybe San Diego State, but I'm not going to use that too much as a handicapping factor, but I think maybe it could favor San Diego State. But I like the line value with the Aztecs. My power ratings make them 4.5 in this game. It's currently open 2. It's up to 3 now. I agree with that move. I still think there's some value. And can you guys believe it's been 2 years since we've had an NCAA tournament? Basically tomorrow, at least here in Virginia, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the 2-week shutdown. So we'll be celebrating that. It's also St. Patrick's Day, of course. But it's been 2 years since we've had a tournament, and San Diego State last year was my play-on team, and I was so disappointed we didn't have a tournament, of course, but that was the team I was looking to use. I mentioned Loyola Chicago earlier. San Diego State last year was that top 10 rated efficiency offense and defensive team, slow down half-court style that I thought could really make some noise. We never got to find out. I don't think they're quite as good this year, but they still play that style, and it makes them very dangerous once again. And, Syracuse is also dangerous come tournament time with Boeheim in that matchup zone. We saw Chaney and Temple over the years wreak havoc. Boeheim and Syracuse has done it as well. However, keep in mind, that works better on the quick turnaround, the second and fourth round games, when teams only have 1 day to prepare for unusual matchup zone. San Diego State's had almost a full week. And then on top of that, this is a Friday game and not a Thursday game, as we would have seen in years past. So I think the matchup zone's a little less effective. We get San Diego State, who I rate better on both ends of the court in basically all the key statistical categories, against an ACC team that was in a really down conference this year. I like San Diego State. It's a year late. I really liked them last year. We'll see if they can make some noise this year as well.
So my big question for this game, Steve, is real simple. How do the Aztecs score? Because they're an offensively challenged team, and Syracuse has all kinds of length to bother them. If you like San Diego State, you like the under here as well? Or is this a story where this is a team that you just say, hey, this is our team, and the matchup will work out the way it works out?
Yeah, I mean, the under is 139. Actually opened Teddy 137.5 up to 139. So we get a lot more wiggle room with this under. And this is a slow down half court style with San Diego State. So I have no problem playing them under. And if you are concerned about that, if Syracuse can wreak some havoc, an under would make some sense for that reason. But I like San Diego State either way here. I think their 3-point shooting is solid. This is a team that hits about 37% from three. They take a little bit above average amount from 3-point range. And by the way, it's something we'll talk more about, guys, in the tournament. But 3-point shooting's like fumbles in the NFL nowadays. It's so random in a one-game situation. It really makes or breaks most of these. But San Diego State does take some threes, and that's how you beat the zone. And they like a half-court slowdown style. So I think they'll be comfortable in that half-court set against Syracuse. And they have the extra time, almost a full week, to prepare for the unusual matchup. So I think it'll work out okay for the Aztecs.
Steve Merril, what do you got to promote? NASCAR show rocking and rolling?
Yeah, NASCAR show's been on Friday evenings. It's been doing well. Andy and Rocky do a great job. Of course, I'm trying to do a college basketball video. I took last week off because I had no games to talk about on Friday night. But I might do a Fade the Public tournament, combine that NFL and NCAA basketball videos that have done so well. So keep an eye out for that the next day or so here on WagerTalk TV. In the meantime, MM50. Use that code right now at WagerTalk for $50 off the rest of my college basketball season. MM50 for the number one ranked college hoops season at WagerTalk.com.
Phenomenal stuff. Thanks for joining us, brother. Be well. Guys, so much more. Teddy's Big Game Breakdown, Dave Sharapan, the penalty box segment, at least 2 more laughs. Stay with us.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk the Utah Jazz and the Boston Celtics. This is NBA on TNT, 7:30 Eastern time tonight. Looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, it's been nothing but Boston money. I don't disagree with that. The Jazz down to -4. The total is sitting in the 228.5 range. This was as high as -5 last night. There were mostly 4.5s this morning, so it has been steady Boston money in early betting action. I don't disagree with that. Look, here's Utah, okay? They started the season 4-4. Then they went 22-2, and then they're 2-4 in their last 6. They're 1-4 straight up in their last 5 on the road. The only win during that span coming at Orlando. When a team makes as much money as they did, and anyone that bet Utah for months made money, doesn't matter what role you had them in, favorite, underdog, big chalk, small chalk, home, road. 22-2 ATS is one of those runs that's going to affect your power rating number for the rest of the year. My number for this game is Utah -1. Okay. Not to say the Jazz shouldn't be favored, but just to show with my power rating numbers, and I've got the Jazz power rating as the best team in the NBA. So it speaks to where Utah is actually power rated right now, that they're laying 4.5 in this ballgame. The Jazz still number one in the NBA in three-pointers made, and they have the number one three-point defense in the NBA. When you talk about, every player but Gobert in their top 7 in minutes, it's 37% or better from beyond the arc for this season. And yet, of late, why is Utah coming back to earth? Well, the three-point shooting's coming back to earth a little bit. They've been under 40% from three-point range 3 times their last 5. Why does that matter here? Well, the Celtics, who are now as healthy as they've been all season. I mean, we talk about a Boston team that has basically 4 key guys. Kemba Walker missed the first chunk of the season. Marcus Smart missed more than a month and is just getting back up to speed. Jason Tatum he only missed 5 games when he had COVID, but he talked about how he was affected by it for weeks afterwards. The only guy who's been healthy all year has been Brown, and Brown's having an all-star season. So now that they're getting the, Walker, Smart, Tatum, Brown all together, they've only played 4 games on the floor together all season. And none of those 4 games are necessarily at full strength. 2 of them were Walker's first games back when he got ramped up, and the other 2 are the 2 since the All-Star break, as Marcus Smart's working his way back. But when we look at the season-long stats for Boston, they're all going to lie. They're all going to lie because their stars haven't been on the floor together, and now they are. So I think there's value on the Boston side of the equation. I'm not in love with stepping in front of Utah off a loss, but I'll tell you what. The Jazz are an overvalued commodity right now. I don't think there's money to be made betting Utah, and the Boston Celtics right now may well be a little bit of an undervalued commodity. Look at Boston plus the points, even after a modest line move in their direction, like the Celtics plus the 4 against Utah this evening. There you have it, Prez. Big game breakdown. Back to you.
Thanks, Teddy. Great job on that breakdown. And you were talking about what I was talking about last week, grabbing those teams in a buy position. And it makes a lot of sense. Boston being injured all year, finally putting something together. And let's see if you are right. Guys, it's $2 Tuesdays. Head over to WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Rob Vino at WagerTalk, Matt Fargo at Sports Memo. Also, please hit that like button. We don't beg you guys every single day, but it is important for us. It helps on our YouTube rankings. That's all we literally are asking from you guys. Please hit that like button. I understand not hitting that like button during the upcoming segment as Dave Sharapan is joining us. But before Dave says a word, we have at least 10 seconds that you can hit that like button. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dave Sharapan! Pittsburgh Penguins fan. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, sir. How are you? Again, hit the like button before it starts, because when we come on, I don't even like you. And that's okay. That's why we do the visit every week.
You want to mess with that, dude? Look at that. Look at that bicep.
Oh, my goodness. My God.
Yeah.
Listen, I listened to the beginning of the show, and I heard you talking about winning and losing, and you're not built for that. What you are built for is Flex Tuesdays. There's no question about that. It's become a thing. That's what everybody knows our Tuesday visits as. But this winning and losing, my goodness, I felt like I felt like there was going to be some drama. And thank goodness Theodore took over the show when he did and got away from the drama, because nobody says drama like you. Nobody says literally like you. You make it a 4-syllable word. And now you're worried about the winning and the losing on Flex Tuesday. Thank you, Teddy, for jumping in there and saving the whole thing before he's got to go to the penalty box. That's where you can talk about winning and the losing in the penalty box.
Are you done now, Dave?
Let's go.
Dave, have you watched Suits?
No, I'm working.
You got to watch Suits.
I mean, I do shows. I don't watch TV except if it's for games right now. That's it.
I know, you and Teddy. Well, that sucks for you. Anyway, God, we've been binge watching Suits. Last night, we watched like 8 episodes. I think Harvey Specter is my hero. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I'm going to
What's it on? When you give a show in 2021, you have to freaking say what?
Okay. Netflix. But I was also watching, Netflix has a special a documentary on the last Blockbuster. Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix. Netflix knocked on their door about 2 years into their mail order program when they could have been bought for $10 million, and Blockbuster laughed at them. Okay.
Are we supposed to laugh now? Theodore.
Oh, shut up, Dave. Teddy, take this segment over.
Get some action. Please.
Well, you don't find that amazing? You don't find that amazing? No, I don't find that amazing. You know what? That's right. I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize to everyone. I'm the businessman. I'm the co-founder of WagerTalk.com. I understand business. These two are handicappers. My stupidity to try to talk to them about something interesting. Teddy, take this show over.
Please, because our audience, they appreciate you, Prez, but we got to keep actionable on the show. And while Blockbuster buying Netflix might have been actionable at the time, now it's 20 years in the
Get on with it.
So we'll leave it. Dave Sharapan, you have been a veteran odds maker you've been an odds maker for the better part of the last, 25 years. Talk about March Madness. Yep. What makes the NCAA tournament different from other betting events? And why is this? How does this become the granddaddy of the biggest betting events in basketball? There's Super Bowl, and there's March Madness. How this developed?
This week the 4 days are bigger than the Super Bowl. And it's so much fun to be in the book in general, both as a bettor and as someone that works in the room. What makes it different is the constant action from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Now, this is a typical Saturday in college basketball season has 100 games. But this one, the amount of money in the pool is just fantastic. So that's what makes it different. You have matchups that you'd never have. There's conference, teams playing each other that are playing each other for the first time in 30 years, 40 years, or maybe ever. So the skill shot is coming up with numbers that at least are close to drawing, somewhat even action. But you also have games that you just, as a bettor, look at lines and go, this makes no sense at all. And that's the book kind of putting something out there that going, yeah, we're good with this number. North Carolina's playing Wisconsin. The number's 1.5. Kind of surprising. Maybe not. Michigan State's playing UCLA. I'm playing Thursday. The line's only 2. I mean, are you watching UCLA play? It seems like that's one that has the majority of the bets are going to be on Michigan State. And the other thing that makes this weekend different is that the public wins sometimes. There's the public sides will be 85% or more. You'll see these percentages, and those games will get there. They're not shoe-in against. But the numbers for years, I've said it, this is the hardest week to have an edge. These numbers are the best they've been all season right now. There's going to be some that, a 20-point favorite's going to lose. That's March Madness. But the numbers are really tough to beat right now.
So what's the biggest mistake that recreational bettors make during March Madness, during the tournament? How do you see what simple advice could you give to correct some of the mistakes that you're seeing being made?
Well, in-game betting has changed everything. So this one maybe not as prevalent because you can bet it during the game. But betting the second half is not what you saw in the first half. And I've seen it now. A team has been up, a 7-point dog is up, 6 at halftime. And everyone, the majority of people just run up to the counter to bet the dog again. And now they're taking the absolute worst number you could possibly take. You got a 6-point dog. They're leading at halftime, and you bet them again at halftime. You're laying points. You're getting them pick them. You're depending. You may be even laying 2 for the game. And I've seen it now for years, and I've been at the counter and had counsel with people. They're like, "What do you like?" And I've told them, "Well, the favorite's going to come back here. You get them really cheap. You only have to lay a pick 'em with a team that was an 8-point favorite. Trust the number." And they're like, "Nah, look at the dog. They don't look that the dog shot 68% in the first half, that they had 11 trips to the free throw line to 2 for the other team." Like, you have to kind of look at the game, look at the numbers, and know it's going to go back a little bit to the original thing. And people for years bet what they see with the first half as a sample size and usually end up laying bad numbers. And it usually it doesn't always win, but again, they're just making incorrect bets. And I try to tell people that all the time. Save yourself the aggravation and play the right numbers.
To the number. You talk about where one team's laying 11 and they're down 6 at halftime. You would expect by the end of the game that the team that's down 6 at halftime they may not win by more than 11, but you'd expect the result to be closer to the point spread than what you're seeing at the break. I have 2 questions for you, Dave, before Prez is all excited about hockey, but it's March Madness week. So I need 2 definitive answers from you.
Okay.
First, what is the single best bet of the first round?
Ooh, wow. Single best bet of the first round.
You can give a couple.
Oh, I think, is it Oral Roberts live to cover against Ohio State? Like, they're just a really solid basketball team. And I saw that number. I thought that was a little bit high. And I don't know. I don't know what to buy with the Big East. I don't know. Georgetown won the Big East tournament. And I think you're going to see them be that public dog that's stinky. Like, I don't know how long Georgetown's stay is going to be, but it just feels like they're that team that that you're going to sit there and write, and they're just not going to cover. So I can't even remember off the top of my head. I've done so many shows who they play in the first round. But I don't think they get past the second round. So if they win for Thursday or Friday against Colorado, that's it.
Yeah,
Colorado. First thing on Saturday morning, they play, and Colorado's only 5. Expect that to be Colorado win, if not a cover. And if Georgetown somehow wins that game, they're going to lose in the second round.
So bet against Georgetown, and perhaps in the first round, look at Oral Roberts. Last question.
Yes, sir.
In terms of March Madness, and you're not allowed to be wrong on this one.
Ooh.
Who's cutting down the nets?
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Before we get to the hockey, this is going to be a tough one. Who's going to beat the Zags? The Zags are getting to the Final Four. It's chalky, it's boring, and it's obvious. But I personally want to see the Zags win, and I don't know who's going to beat them. Someone might in a one-gamer, but give me a shot at them from the Final Four on, and I'll take them against anybody. Outside shot, all this love for Houston. A lot of people like this Houston basketball team. A lot of people that we know. I've heard a lot of good things. So Houston, maybe, but if I have to pick one team, I'll take the Zags.
What a story that would be for the Zags. I mean, it's like kind of 2 decades in the making, just progression. And I'd like to see it. I mean, this is a team that just was nothing 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and have just slowly become, a staple in, oh, shut up, Teddy. Dave, let's get to some NHL.
10 years ago. They were something 20 years ago.
Dave, let's get to some NHL.
You
have any bets for us tonight? And do you think Pittsburgh's going to make the playoffs?
I don't know if anyone's paying any attention, but this Penguin team has turned it around between Burke and Hextall being in the front office and maybe some people being accountable for playing defense.
Well, Burke's an idiot.
And whatever the case is, they've won 6 in a row, and Yari stood on his head last night. Like, I mean, he stopped. I think they got outshot 42-21, something ridiculous, and won the game
43-25.
Yeah. So, that's what handicapping hockey does. You can get it right. The team dominates play. They outshoot the other team 2-1 and lose. Very tough. Can the Penguins win again? Absolutely. Are they going to? Probably. I think the Penguins are again the side tonight. You saw the line flipped yesterday, closed -115 on top, and now it's -115 on the bottom. Probably ride that one, play the Penguins again. Until we know the goaltenders, though, that's a little scary. I'm just happy that the Avalanche aren't playing the Kings. I mean, every day when you go to look at the games, it's either one day is these matchups and the next day is these matchups. So when you finally get to Monday or Tuesday the following week, they're playing different teams. So handicapping hockey is like by the end of the week, it's like the Leafs are playing the Canucks again. The Oilers are playing the Senators again. I mean, seriously. Today's games, I mean, the Islanders and Capitals are the game, right? That's the game of the day. The Islanders, are they the best team in hockey? Maybe. Are they going to win today? I would look to bet against them today. But again, when you get on these streaks, you're supposed to bet them continuously until they lose, and trying to pick the spot that they're going to lose. That's like Prez walking into the locker room and saying, I quit for the beer league team. Like, they're like, go do what you're going to do anyway. I mean, that happens. So, I bet the Capitals. That would be the side. Lightning, Stars. I'm not going to be the one to tell you to bet against the Lightning. I mean, it seems like the Stars would be the live side for sure. And if I have to pick that game, pick the Stars. I mean, but who wants to bet against the Lightning? I don't want to be that guy. I'll let Prez be that guy in the penalty box.
Dave, stay around for the penalty box. I got a trend for you on the Lightning that you want to hear. Dave Sharapan, everybody. What's your Twitter handle?
It's still Sports BK Consig. The podcast is Cash Considerations. It's at Cash Consid Show. And you find me on Sports Grid and Sirius XM talking hockey. I got a couple of hockey guys, Morency and Cam Stewart, just literally talk about hockey for an hour. It's so much fun.
Dave Sharapan, brother, thanks for joining us, man. Awesome to have you with us, guys. We're going straight into the penalty box. Let's get that music cued. Okay, boys, time to get into the penalty box. I got 3 NHL plays for you today. I had 2 yesterday. I pushed 1, the Washington over, and I won 1 on the Boston-Pittsburgh under. And let's go straight back to that Boston-Pittsburgh under. I understand Boston has goalie issues right now, but I think they are going to play really well on defense tonight. It's the same number, 5.5. And normally I would not play back-to-back unders when the same teams play each other. But one of the things I like to do is when the first game has a lopsided score, Pittsburgh won yesterday 4-1, Boston is going to come out and try to win this game outright, obviously. And in order for that to happen, Boston needs to keep people off of the score sheet. I think we're going to get a much better defensive effort from Boston. So I am going straight to the under in that again. The next one I want to talk to you about is Tampa Bay Lightning. Over the last 3 years, Tampa Bay has scored 1 goal or less 27 times. Last night was the 27th time. They are 23-3 the next game. 23 wins, 3 losses the very next game. Tampa Bay is in that exact spot tonight. It doesn't happen often. It is an incredible trend. Play the Lightning. And the last play is Carolina in regulation. Normally, I'm not going to play back-to-back wins with teams. I usually take the first game, Carolina 1-2-1, and then I move, and then I don't play the second game. But a 2-1 win against Detroit is the equivalent of Detroit winning a game. Carolina played terribly last game. They're going to play better this game. Carolina in regulation. Teddy, awesome show, man. Big shout out. Why is Joe laughing?
Because he's buzzing you over and over again. And I wish, as long as you keep talking, just keep
What do you
pressing
mean?
that
I
button.
followed the clock. I was like 5 seconds over.
Yeah,
5
well,
seconds. You know what? Take us home.
thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to take us home. I want to thank Steve Merril. I want to thank Dave Sharapan. I want to thank my co-host, Lawrence Raby. I want to thank our producer, Joe Ranieri. And I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for taking time out of your busy day to hang out with Prez and I. We'll be back again tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon on the east coast, with another edition of Wager Talk Today. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck.
And sportsmemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers best bet or daily package for only $2.